We've been hearing a lot of things that make sense from Bill Maher lately.
Ted Cruz, who we've had on this show, and I certainly have had my differences, but I'm glad to talk to everybody on this show. He was very good on this. He said, the danger I want to highlight tonight is anti-Semitism. In the last 6 months, I've seen it on the rise in a way I've never seen it before on the right. Here's the interesting thing I thought he said. He said about a decade ago, anti-Semitism began rising on the left and the Democratic Party did nothing. And in the decade that followed, it has consumed the Democratic Party. I'm not so sure he's not right about that. I'm not so sure the Democratic politicians are more afraid to challenge their left, who think Hamas is terrific, than the Republicans are.
On the right, you're starting to see not just in the shadows anymore, but it to creep up in the mainstream like it did, as Bill Maher references, a decade ago in the left. And we know the playbook of the anti-Semites if they have their way.
And it's not just about Israel now. It's about Jews in America.
And this is should be of concern to anyone who's a conservative, a Christian, an American. It really flies in the face of what this country was founded on. We'll even get to some of Ted Cruz's comments that played that as well.
There's two reasons why, for most of our audience, to care about this. One, there is obviously the Christian connection to Israel, and the fact that the Israeli government, unlike those in the past, protect Christian holy sites from destruction. We know what would happen if Islamic radicals took control of Jerusalem. Our holy sites, our ability to go on Christian pilgrimage and to walk the same steps as Jesus Christ would no longer exist. It would be destroyed, just like we've seen Al-Qaeda do it. And we've seen those churches destroyed by ISIS throughout Syria and in the Levant. Also, a secondary part, of course, so that's your faith. Secondary part, take your faith out of it. The United States has to have an ally in the most turbulent part of the world that understands Western values, that is an actual democratic society. And that's what Israel is. So you don't have to like all of Israel's politicians. You don't have to like that. That's different than saying, well, Israel means Jews. That means Jews in America too. And Jews cause all the problems in the wars, though I don't exactly know how you make those connections. It's such a small group of people. When you look at the world and you look at how many Muslims there are, how many Christians there are, and then to how many Jews, I think it's like 15 million in the entire world. There's over 1 billion Protestants, over 1 billion Catholics, over more than that. I think more Muslims, if you separate Catholics and Protestants out, are the largest single group. So I mean, in the billions number, and you're talking about you're going to blame all of your problems on 15 million people in the entire world. 7 million of which live in a very tiny country so that they can have their own homeland, that you don't have to be worried about the majority government saying one day, whether they're on the right or the left, we don't want you here anymore.
And let's go ahead and play Congressman Jared Moskowitz comments. He's from Florida, and this is his response to where Bill Maher had said, I think it's interesting what Ted Cruz has to say, that I'm seeing all of this anti-Semitism in the right, and that the Democrat Party has already been infiltrated with it. Let's go ahead and play bite 4 from Jared Moskowitz.
I agree 100% with Ted Cruz.
Wow.
Okay, the difference is they have hindsight. Right? They saw what happened to us, and our party has been consumed by it. Like, people would say, look, you could be anti-Zionist without being anti-Semitic, and I would say theoretically you could. They're just not. When you're holding signs on college campuses saying go back to Poland, that doesn't sound like anything to do with Israel. When you see a Jewish student walking on campus, you don't know that he's a Netanyahu supporter, but they were surrounding him because he had a Jewish star. Right? And so this has consumed us, and it is dividing us in elections. It is run through the whole party. We have tried to not talk about it. We've tried to tamp it down, but it is everywhere. It is moving swiftly.
This is important, and this is a fight that's going on within the conservative sphere right now, and we have to push back. But it's very telling that there are people that either don't want to talk about it, so they won't watch it, or there are people that disagree, so they turn it off. And that's why we can't stop confronting this, because you see other conservative institutions that are imploding, that are struggling right now because of
Major.
this very debate, and it shouldn't even be a debate going on within conservative ideology.
No, the idea that, free speech is speech and awful can be lawful doesn't mean you have to accept it. Doesn't mean you have to say, well, just because they have a right to say it, they're right. It doesn't mean they're right or correct. Just because it's not illegal to say something doesn't mean what you're saying is even accurate. It doesn't mean what you're saying is something that should be accepted or widely even, I think, like even going down that path. And of course, then you're steps away from also encouraging violence. And by the way, President Trump, because he's got people around him who are solid people, like Marco Rubio and others, has not, this is not, anytime those people have gotten near him, he has pushed them away. That's,
right.
He's been a strong ally of Israel. So I want to make that clear. Where we're seeing this as an issue is in younger staffers in Washington, D.C., on the Republican side.
Right.
On the Democrat side, it's their elected officials. So that's what Jared was saying. And on the Democrat side, it's the people who have actually been elected to office. That's a much bigger problem because that's harder to deal with.
Right.
When you know that you've got young people who are interested in, the country, they want to work in Washington, they want to work in politics, we have to be able to get the message to them that, one, racism is wrong. And I don't care what your faith is or your politics are. And there's different ways, again, to combat it. But the best way to combat it is in your communities. It's not the government having to do everything. It's communities having to do it. And to say, again, we have acknowledge that you have these issues and then try to understand why. Is it really just because some kid is, interesting to listen to online? Because if that's all it takes to turn people into anti-Semites in the United States of America, then you realize how serious the problem is. And it's one we can't ignore, that if we don't talk about, the Republican Party will be a party that you'll be uncomfortable with as well. On the left, it's been more of an influence of the Islamic kind of hatred of Israel and the Jewish state of Israel. And on the right, it's a little bit more, they play more to like anti-Semitism and Jews at home and running all the businesses and companies, the same kind of things we've heard for decades.
1,000-year-old
the blood libels, right? But who's next with those radical Muslims if the Jews are no longer there? Everyone listening to this show, for the most part. If you're a Christian, you're next. Now, there's a lot more of us, so the Jews go first, but then it's you. So you're playing right into their trap, which is going to be a trap of, it's a convert or die, ultimately. I mean, that's what they do around the world. And we see that in Christian communities. We're going to be talking about that in a second.
Right,
around the world.
Say, that's exactly what you were fighting for in D.C. last week.
They give you the choice to convert instead of dying at that moment. But oftentimes, you don't even get that choice because they come in on Christmas Day and burn down the church and lock the doors. So they didn't give anybody even a chance to renounce their faith, which most of those, which I would say don't. But, I'm saying this is what happens next with these radicals. They will come, and think about those in Germany who wrote that. I mean, it was Bonhoeffer himself who wrote. They came first for them. We didn't say anything. Then they came for us, and there was no one left to talk.